Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Geo Scheduling Call on a Monday. Today featuring large mugs in a cow pattern, but mainly going to talk about issues and their current state. So enjoy 45 to 50 minutes of scheduling.
My mug was not a cow mug, it is a Superman mug.
Nothing can go wrong. It's a super cow.
Well, let's see about that. Okay, I'll share my screen. I share my screen every week, and you think I couldn't figure out the fast way to do it? There you go.
I mean, we lose around like a minute every time when I have to switch to my screen, so I feel you.
All the minutes count today. Okay, closed column. The first one is an easy one. Determine if we need to include deployment in Canary, and the answer was no. So we can close that one out.
Ta-da.
Creating events and design creation, that was the one with the really wonderful proposal. That's also done. Let me just remove the active and ready for development can come out. Hooray. I did have other thoughts about this one, but that's not for the conversation now. I'll talk about that later. Okay. Yeah, this is the one with a great proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
And it got done.
Yeah. Okay. A rake task to perform the post omnibus update. This was the wins here are not worth the effort. So the solution is some orchestration tool.
Yeah. So this issue was opened before we invested a lot more time in understanding the upgrade procedure for zero downtime upgrades. And once we finished actually revamping that, Tone revisited this, and it feels like it's no longer worth doing, which is actually a big win if you think about it, right? If we can come to the conclusion that, you know, we looked at it carefully and we are not willing to do it anymore, I think that's actually really good.
Yeah, and the last issue that's linked there at the bottom might be also still an improvement to make the updates easier.
The last issue linked at the bottom. You mean
it's commented at the bottom.
Oh, there, the omnibus one. Okay, where does this one need to live? Because I don't even think that's going to show up on your boards yet.
I think it just needs the geo planning. I think this was opened on Thursday or Friday, and I hadn't had time yet to.
There you go. Planning added. Okay, exposing the design repository from primary to secondary. This has also been done. Yeah, merged. Okay. So I'm just going to take this off. I really like the fact that this was broken down into such tiny little pieces, because we can see how the progress is going. I'm a big fan of how this is working.
Me too, actually. I think this is something we should repeat.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully you can still see my face with the sunshine. Okay, the spec that's failing in master, this was closed and reopened. The fix is ready and merged. Okay, hopefully that is finally the fix.
Yeah, I finally managed to reproduce it, and the fix was merged. Eventually it was just the same fix, because it was a spec failure on the secondary worker, and the change already happened on the primary worker spec. So it's weird we didn't do that at the same time. It should be gone now.
Cool, thanks for taking a look at that. It's been hanging around for a while, so I'm glad that you were finally able to recreate it. Okay, the geodocs, how to set up this geolocation aware Git URL. This was a great ticket to have been taken care of as well.
Yep.
And even has merged it. Great stuff. Edit.
Which is really cool, by the way. I'm really pleased, because this is, if we also manage to implement the follow-up issue here, this in 12.4, which is scheduled, then I think this is a really nice and sort of well-rounded addition to Geo that I think many customers will actually be interested in.
Is this something, do you have to note any of these ones down for being part of a release note?
Yes. So I have volunteered to be the release post manager this month.
So we won't see you for about a week.
About that. But in order to essentially make it easier for other people to understand what I would like to see, I'll write these release post items up earlier. And I think we have probably 3 to 4 things that can come into the release post, which I think
Wonderful.
Pretty cool.
Cool. Next one, LFS not being synced. This was the thing that Gabriel found where it just, yeah, they weren't being synced, which is a little annoying, but I'm glad that he found it and at least it's been resolved.
Yes, I think the remaining question here is if it can be backported and to what versions. I think at the moment the discussion stands at backporting it to 12.2 and 12.3, where 12.3 is within the usual SLA, 12.2 is not, but potentially not 12.1. But I think this discussion is ongoing. In any case, we should, there is also some debate on if this is something that we should have a little blog post just saying, hey, this is something that will hit you in this release, so please upgrade. But that's ongoing. I would personally prefer if it was just backported to every affected version because that's much easier.
I think that I do think that the scope of this conversation falls out of this meeting, but I think that it's worth having as part of a separate call or something, just how we handle things when we find our own P1s.
Yes.
So let me just take a note that we need to talk about this separately. And,
no, that's fine.
And do that. Apologies for the noise in the background. It is cleaning day. Yes, I'm just going to put a note in the scheduling call doc here. There we go, right. What's the date? Oh, it's the 30th of September already. Okay, so we need a I'll just put this here. Okay, but I've taken the active thing off and we can talk about that separately. Fantastic, I'll refresh the board. Okay, in review. Switch that over, in review. Questions on the order of running commands in the upgrades?
Yeah. So I think the last state, and I'm about to, the last state here is that I think the merge request closing this has no open issues anymore, no open discussions. So this is the multi-node, yeah. But there are merge conflicts, so I have to look at that. The last thing that I think we need to do before we can close this is, yeah, I have to go through that. The last thing I think after that is to ensure that somebody actually uses those instructions for the next upgrade demo and finds no issues.
Okay. I'm quickly going to bounce to that because I know that there is an upgrade ticket in here somewhere, unless Tone did that last week when I was out. This one here, upgrade the installation from this to this. Must I just say, please use the instructions that are defined in this MR?
Let's have a look. Perform upgrade steps described in the latest documentation. Currently, this unreleased version. This is the link to the merge request, actually. Under upgrade, step 3.
Sorry, upgrade step 3. So this is the, oh great, so it's already there.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is in review. Is this one blocked on this ticket?
I will have to take a look right after this. I think it is probably true.
Okay, I think I'm going to then say this one is blocked on the upgrade being performed here.
I think that's fair. Oh, this is fast typing this morning.
No, man, now you put me off. On the upgrade being tested, Fabian.
Sorry. I'll shut up and drink out of my cow mug.
Okay. Okay, let's refresh there, and we should see that one fall into blocked. Okay, right. Oh, favorite object storage. Where are we now with object storage? 2 days ago, I found another unrelated issue. Oh, this was the LFS business, wasn't it? Okay. Let me just double check.
So.
This is 3 days ago. This is, no, hold on.
I think this is about cleaning up.
That would be under follow-ups from this issue. Okay. That's all. What duty test? That doesn't actually answer the question of where this work is, though. So this is still open. I have a chat with him later on, so I'll get another update of where this is.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'm just going to leave that rather than trying to find out the state from the issue itself, because I also want to find out about what's happening with the follow-up issues, because there seem to be a lot of them. We're going to need to think about what to do with the ones he finds, but I suppose each of them will just assess independently and see what happens. So, okay, create a design repository table to track the design repositories, and there are 2 MRs. And yeah, okay, Douglas is looking at this with him. Okay, cool. And then create the HA upgrade documentation.
Oh, actually, I think I made a mistake earlier. So there's some questions, yada, yada, that we moved as blocked. This is actually, so this issue here is the one that actually demands to create the documentation for an HA Geo setup. And that is blocked on the upgrade. I think there's some questions I think I have to actually look at and see if there are any things in those questions that are yet unanswered. And if that's no longer the case, then we can actually close it. So I make a note to follow up there.
I must also mark this one as blocked.
Yes. But the other one may actually not be blocked. It may be able to be closed. I just have to take a look.
Well, I think they will both sit there in the block column for you to have a look at. So, okay, the one in the block column that we didn't deal with yet was about the rake task, which was still waiting on Ash and Devon. Ash is away, so I know that nothing has changed.
Okay.
So we can leave that. And then we're on the in dev column, and it's only 9:15. Hey, okay. The upgrade is upgrade test. Assigned to Ian. He has put it mentioned in a merge request. Okay. He's doing some testing and he has found gaps in Postgres steps that he's addressed. So is he actually performing this?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think arguably the question is if this is actually the right place on our build board, because this is omnibus and I reported this as a bug. through our systems, but it is actually something that is in Omnibus. And so I think Ian rightfully is looking at it. So
I'm pretty sure that Stephen is the EM here. I just want to double check that
yes,
it's early and it's Monday. What is Ian's? What is Ian's?
I think it's Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is just say, since Ian.
E-Baum, so ID.
is taking a look at that. Should we change the it's not distribution. Yeah, it's distribution. This one. Yeah. Do I have to? Because what I want to say is it'll fall off our board, so we won't be tracking it. But he's taking care of this, so it should really be on their group. I suppose it's just enough to say, should we change the label?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if I need to ask if he's tracking it or not.
I think it doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay. Okay. Next one. Repos with the recent commit are flagged as invalid. This is the one where if they're 2 years old, then they weren't being valid. Not able to reproduce this locally with the repository provided. Asking, so we need to chase up this because that's been a week and Kevin hasn't come back. Kevin Voigt. So
I think this is just let's follow up on that.
Okay. And the last one in development was about the shard worker using a lot of RAM. Let's see with this. Okay, I'm just going to ask. Great. So interestingly, there seems to be a lot of stuff that was closed and finished out, and it seems that some people haven't picked up new stuff yet. So there must be either there's things in here that are in the wrong state, or people were great at finishing things off on Friday so that they're ready for new things on Monday. Okay.
All right, should I take over?
Yep. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. Yeah, all yours.
Okay. Now I need to actually get out of my full screen mode here. Okay. I just need to close a few tabs to make sure. Okay. Oh no, that's wrong. Okay, can you see the board?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, cool. Let's just refresh. Okay, so the manually upgrade PostgreSQL in GeoHA. So I know Tone has started on this, potentially. So are you, Tone, are you actively working on this or not yet?
Yeah, I wanted to see if we have if I have like a setup where I can run these tests, because I'm pretty sure this will cause trouble and we have to run it several times.
So, but that is still work, I would say, right?
Oh yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Okay. So I can move it to in dev.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Thanks.
So this, excuse me?
No, you go.
So I think this is sort of the, in a way, we don't have to wait for this one to complete before doing this. We could just upgrade here without upgrading the Postgres database, because we're not doing this automatically anyways at the moment, because we know there are issues with this. So I think it's fine to to do it now, but I would probably argue that the other things are a little bit more imminent, so I'll move this down just because people will pick up other things first.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the object storage work, I think that's actually, I mean, we are working on the object storage replication, so we should also think about the documentation pretty soon, just so that we're not really behind. So I'm happy to leave it here, but this is probably something that needs to be picked up by Gabriel as well.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll when I chat with him later today, I will find out for both of these. Yeah.
Yeah, this here is fine, the clone URL, because this is a follow-up from the documentation for a single Git URL. Let me have a look. So it looks to me like Mike is actually already interacting with this ticket on Friday.
Yeah, so let's move that to InDev.
I'll move it to InDev. Okay. And then here we have the refresh foreign tables on reconfigure. I think that's quite important. This is every time we update, you also have to manually refresh the foreign data wrapper. So I'm happy to leave it here. This is related. So this belongs to this sort of nice package of small bugs to make the foreign data wrapper more robust. So actually what I'm going to do is I'll do this. Because these here are relatively small tasks that I think are sort of good to do. And I'm happy with this here. I want to check something quickly, which is the design registry work, because that belongs to an epic. And I believe, yeah, so the verification of design repositories and showing the sync information and handling the design uploads is sort of what is happening next. And I think we have sort of momentum on those tickets, on those items. So I actually moved them already in sort of the staging GeoActive over here, because I think we shouldn't let it run dry in a way.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to move one more ticket over here. That is something that Douglas and Valerie can consider picking up. But then we probably have enough in this column.
Yes, I think that verification of design repos is a good one to come across.
And then I'll just do this, because I think this is probably going to be picked up next by Douglas or by Valerie.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then for scheduling, let me do this. Yeah, so here is the handling design uploads, show the sync information. So these are all the last bits that are needed to actually complete the design repository work. I think that's good. Document every step needed to replicate a new data type. I personally like having this after those two items, because this is a new data type, right, that we are adding, and these are the last 2 tickets that actually have to do with it. So I felt that once that's completed, I think that's a great time to sort of reassess and say, like, what are all the things that we needed to do, and document that. So then we can pick up, for example, GitLab pages or something else, and we have a better understanding of what actually needs to happen.
So we almost have a checklist for the next time that we do this. This is all the things that we need to take into consideration, and these are all the pieces that we'll need to do.
Yep, that's the plan.
I like that. Yeah.
And then after that, we have the verification for uploads, which is another thing that we wanted to look into. So those are the first steps of upload verification. We wanted to touch them in 12.3, but didn't get to them. So I'm starting to like put things in here so that that work also kicks off.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we need to do more about confirming that the uploads work is correct. I mean,
yeah, so maybe as part of like the first item here, because we have this very nicely broken down, but it's a long list of tickets, and I do think we should do this, right? I think it's like from my perspective as a customer, you know, I expect that the data that is synced to my secondary is also verified, right? And we could argue, you know, if uploads is the most urgent of the items that we need to do, but I think it is maybe, you know, it is a lot of work to do that. And I think maybe we should double check with Mike why that is, or if that is still the case, or if something has changed.
Well, the reason that why I want to check if it's still the case is because after the design repositories work and creating a list that says this is how we would add a new data type, if we just pretended for a moment that we didn't do uploads, what would we need to do to be able to do uploads, and are all those things correctly included on this list?
Okay,
and are we going to land up finding any kind of refactoring that we need to do to bring this in line with how new things are being added? So it's just about making sure before we embark on this that have we taken in any learnings from the design repository work that we need to actually consider here? Say things a bit differently rather than a bit better. It just sounds, yeah, it's just a different tone. Yes.
It's always okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so that's that. And I am relatively flexible with this.
No, I think that it's the right thing to do is to concentrate on getting that done. I just want to check that we're still doing the right thing.
I think that's fair, and it has been dormant a little while.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there is the usual amount of a long list of items that I haven't sorted properly, because I think this is good enough in terms of for the next week as you know, like items. I do have another thing that I would like to quickly discuss that we may need to accelerate. Bless you. Which is the SQL statement timeout.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I think that
the bottom, I just want to see the last. I'm trying to scroll up on my screen. It's not my screen.
So I think there was a customer interaction here, and there were some suggestions being made how to handle this. And there is some sort of follow-up questions on like if the customer has been informed with the right steps to take. But I think
we still need to fix the actual problem.
We still need to fix the actual problem, and I think it may be worth fixing the actual problem and accelerating that a little bit. So I'm happy to actually sort of skip this ahead to the build board and say, hey, can we please, because I think this is it's not really a bug, but it is something to fix because we had customers running into this.
Yeah. Tone, since you're on the call, do you know if there's already an idea on how to fix this in the long term rather than just the timeouts?
Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention. So it's with
this is the job artifact. Yeah, the job artifacts. I know that there's discussion about raising the timeouts and talking to the customer about if they've done it on the right database. But I was wondering if you know if there's any idea on how to fix the actual problem rather than just increasing the timeout.
I think one thing that we have been considering is that moving to a newer version of PostgreSQL where 10 or 11 has improvements on FDW that might help, but I'm not sure on that.
Okay.
So I think actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to like move this back into a planning breakdown.
But I wonder if we shouldn't just put this on the build board for someone to figure out what needs to happen here, because I'm not sure. Or in your mind, does it happen in the planning breakdown section?
I think ideally I'd like to have it happen here, but it still may require some work because it's, I mean, it depends on how we want to play it. I think we've invested quite a bit of work on some items, breaking them down that were not on the build board. But I think it may need to somebody actually picking this up, spending some brain energy and saying, these are the options that we actually have. And we think the effort is X, because at the moment it feels like one of those issues, that has an assignment of 3, but it's not really clear what really can be done or if anything can be done at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So let me quickly write this down.
Okay.
I think in addition to helping
spend. Another question on the call, because this is a question from me. Just let me go back to this. What happens when the job artifacts significantly grows?
the number of job artifacts.
Yeah, because at the moment the performance is not great. But what happens when we've got thousands or tens of thousands more records than what we currently have, or even I'm not sure what I'm not sure how this table grows, but I can only imagine that it's going to get bigger over time, and we need to think about what happens if we could project forward like 6 months from now. What is it going to look like?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I think this is not the planning breakdown. It is truly solution validation, actually.
But I think we actually need an engineer to sit and figure this out. So does that mean we should bounce it onto the build board so that they can someone will pick it up to figure this out?
I'm happy with that. I don't mind where it sits.
I think it would be better to put it on the build board so that it gets picked up. I'm concerned that if it sits in solution validation, it's not going to get addressed.
No, the wrong kind of ready. Okay.
And Geo active. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so that should happen.
Great. I think then that is plenty. Okay.
I think that's plenty. Some updates on my end. So I have to go through some of those bits here. Many of them are DR. In terms of problem validation, I will move this up actually. Tuck, tuck, tuck. No. So I have a meeting with the customer tomorrow actually to discuss the potential of conducting some interviews inside their organization.
Nice. Okay.
It'd be really cool. So there's some movement here. And I think this is sort of the only update I have since last week on this bit. That's that. I've also fixed the roadmap. It looks a little bit better now than before. I think in terms of what we need to start thinking about very soon is what we are going to do with promotion, demotion, and failover. That's definitely an area that I think we should plan on tackling a little bit more actively. But that's just something to consider.
Okay.
Cool. And I think that's...
Yeah, let's chat about that separately in another call. But I think in terms of scheduling, we've done pretty well. We've closed out what we don't need. And I think there's a lot in the ready for development column that can be picked up. Probably more than a week's worth, but...
we closed 17 points last week.
Awesome.
And everything obviously started in that week. And so this is exactly how much we closed. We closed for this week as well.
Brilliant.
No, I think we're in good shape. I think we have more than enough to work through.
Yeah. And do you have 20 minutes to get your customer brain on?
Yeah, that should be good. So thanks everyone for listening. And I think that should be it.
Yeah, I will finish up writing up what needs to go into the Geo channel, and I'll share it with you. Just add anything before it gets posted.
Sounds good.
Good luck on that next call.
Thank you.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.